The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. Thank you for taking time this morning to join us for the better part of this hour. We'll talk a little bit about the Rotary Foundation. So that you can have the best quality to listen and view this webinar, please close all unnecessary programs and move your cell phone away from the computer so you will not have any feedback. Play with the panel so you are familiar with how to adjust this presentation. Because you will not have the ability to speak during the presentation, please submit questions you may have in the questions box. We will answer questions after the presentation. After this webinar, it will be made available on the district website, rotary5180.org. It will be under the Foundation tab. I'm Glenn Fong, the current District Foundation Chair, and will be your host today. We will also be joined by two guests, Joe Scheimer and Court Vaughn, a little later as well. Based on the number of people that have signed up, we have a very good mix of newer and longtime Rotarians. Therefore, today's presentation will feature both some basic information about the Rotary Foundation and more developing items for experienced Rotarians. A little bit of something for everyone. Let's go ahead and take a poll on the folks that are on the call today. And the poll is, what is your club role in 2021? Just select one that fits you best, and we'll wait about 15-20 seconds to go ahead and complete the poll. We'll give it another few more seconds. What is your club role in 2021? Your club role. All righty then. Let's go ahead and share the results of that. It looks like 36% Club Foundation Chair, great. 7% Club Foundation Committee. Let's see here, 14% Club President, President-elect or nominee, 14% Board of Directors, and let's see here, 29% other club role. Right. Well, thanks for sharing that. Good to know. Today, we're going to talk about the Rotary Foundation and the levels of giving, how your contributions work, DDF, or District Designated Funds, District and Global Grants, a lot to talk about there. And then Joe Scheimer will talk about Global Grant Scholarships and Rotary Peace Fellowships. And our special guest, Court Vaughn, will talk about End Polio Now. And at the end, we'll have questions and answers from everyone. So I saw this on the internet the other day, and I thought, oh, let's go ahead and share this. Rotary, the most financial sound, largest, most powerful networking organization whose flag is recognized in more countries than any other flag in the world. Every minute of every day, Rotary feeds someone, houses someone, vaccinates someone, performs surgery on someone, comforts someone, heals someone, and provides clean water to someone. I thought that was pretty neat. What is the Rotary Foundation? The Rotary Foundation is a nonprofit corporation that supports the efforts of Rotary International to achieve world understanding and peace through international humanitarian, educational, and cultural exchange programs. Who created the Rotary Foundation? The foundation was created in 1917 by Rotary International's 6th president, Arch C. Klump, as an endowment fund for Rotary to do good in the world. It has grown from an initial contribution of $26.50 to more than $1 billion. It has one of the largest and most prestigious international fellowship programs in the world. How is the Rotary Foundation funded? It is supported solely by voluntary contributions from Rotarians and friends of the foundation who share its vision of a better world. Rotary International Foundation is a 4-star charity graded by Charity Navigator. Charity Navigator rates over 9,000 charities. The rating is based on financial accountability and transparency. So I randomly went to Charity Navigator and just selected some notable charities, and you can see on the screen some are 3-star in their overall score, some are 4 stars. And I think some of these charities are worthwhile. I know I personally have donated to them, but I just wanted to just show the level of their rating. Rotary gets 1 out of 100 out of 100, 4-star charity rating. Other service clubs you may have heard of, they're a little bit lower, but you know Rotary is 100. The Rotary Foundation levels of giving. So these next few slides will explain the different levels of giving to the Rotary Foundation. If you've been in Rotary for some time, you're probably aware of a Paul Harris Fellow, which is recognition given in appreciation to anyone who contributes outright or cumulatively, or in those named and contributed, a gift of $1,000 or more to annual programs, Polio Plus, or the World Fund, or as a sponsor portion of a foundation grant. There are different levels of a Paul Harris Fellow. A Paul Harris Fellow +1 is a contribution of $2,000, and you receive a sapphire on your Paul Harris pin. Paul Harris +2 is $3,000 with 2 sapphires, and so forth, as you can see here on the screen. Not to confuse with the Paul Harris Fellow, the Paul Harris Society recognizes individuals who choose to contribute $1,000 or more each Rotary year to the annual fund, Polio Plus Fund, and our approved global grant. A benefactor is someone who informs the Rotary Foundation in writing that they have made a provision in their estate plan to gift at least $1,000 to the foundation, or who makes an outright gift of $1,000 or more to the Endowment Fund. Bequest Society, the Rotary Foundation recognizes couples or individuals who have made commitments in their estate plans totaling $10,000 or more. A major donor, Rotary Foundation recognizes individuals or couples who combined giving has reached $10,000 regardless of the gift designation. This recognition level can be achieved only through personal contributions and not through recognition points. The Arch C. Clump Society are donors who contribute $250,000 or more, becomes members of the Arch C. Clump Society. Their biographies and portraits are all encased at the 17th floor at Rotary International Headquarters, and some of them are actually taken out on the road as they are being displayed. Endowment naming opportunities is something that has become popular in recent years because it leaves a legacy. You can have a named endowed fund with a contribution of $25,000 in one of the 6 areas of focus that supports our district through share or providing general support in the World Fund. A contribution of $150,000 can be customized endowed fund that supports humanitarian projects, scholarships, or vocational training teams. For a contribution of $500,000 would be customized global grant endowed fund, supporting the same as previously mentioned. It also can be used in a geographical location only or just in the district. The Rotary Foundation has many, many options for endowment opportunities. Okay, here's a slide that I found that would help show you how your contributions to the Rotary Foundation work. So starting with the lower left corner, which is the green box, these are support dollars coming from individual Rotarians, from our clubs, our district, maybe some corporate matching, gifts from other foundations or trusts, insurance, estate plans, and friends. They support and they contribute to the next box up, and these are the different types of ways and vehicles that you can contribute to the foundation. A benefactor, Bequest Society, major donor, Arch Clump, E-Ray, which is every Rotarian every year, a sustaining member in the club, $100 a year, Paul Harris Fellow, Paul Harris Society, items that we just briefly went over a moment ago. Now, when you do make the contributions, we go up higher up the box, you can see some contributions will be to the annual fund, which will come back to be used in 3 years, and we'll go over that in a moment. Other contributions are to a restricted fund, which is more like polio. You directed your funds to polio or something in the donor-advised memorials. Disaster recovery fund, something that you want it specifically to go to only. The permanent fund or endowment fund, endowment only interest is used in share or other distributions. In other words, if you have a large contribution in the permanent fund, only the interest portion of it can be used to share and in your clubs and districts. Of this income from the annual fund and the restricted fund, those two, annual fund and restricted fund, that income comes back around to us in 3 years. Now we can move over to the right side of the column, kind of the orange-brown color. The disbursements of those are 50% of those go to the district designated fund. That was from the 3 years we talked about prior. And the other 50% goes to the World Fund. So there's your money 3 years later, 50% in the district designated fund and 50% in the World Fund. From the district designated fund side, you can use that for district grants. And these are some of your smaller scale, short-term local grants here in our district. You can also use some of those district funds, the district designated funds, to contribute to Polio Plus or Peace Fellows. The World Fund is available to match these things. If you have, it matches 100% of your DDF, and I crossed out the red there, 50% of donations towards specific projects, because that has just recently changed. But the World Fund's to match global grants. That's to support large international activities with sustainable, measurable outcomes in the 6 areas of focus. And the beneficiaries of obviously all the different Rotarians, clubs, districts, international partners, scholars, communities, families, and children. So this is probably the simplest scale diagram that I have found that probably best explain where your contributions to the Rotary Foundation go, and how is it used, how is it distributed, and what does it do. For 2020-2021 global grants, recently released was a couple of weeks ago from the trustees of the Rotary Foundation that they expect the global grant demand for global grant to dramatically exceed the capacity of the World Fund, what we just talked about in that diagram a moment ago. The World Fund resources will match only the DDF contributions, and this match will remain at 100%. The match for cash contributions to grants will be eliminated effective July 1 of 2020. Global grant applications that have been submitted but not yet approved on July 1 will still receive the World Fund match for cash contributions. So for example, A general example of global grant matching and how it works. You have a global grant project. You have cash of about $10,000 that your club is going to do a global grant. Our district here will match with DDF funds, 100%. We'll match that $10,000. The World Fund matches the DDF, another 100%, and that's $10,000. What is now eliminated is the World Fund match of the cash contribution. So that is the example that I wanted to share with you of the recent change that the trustees of the foundation have implemented come July 1. Okay. Let's just talk about some of our district global grants that are some of our global grants that we have in our district. I thought I'd share with you some of the great stuff that's being done out there. West Sacramento, they've got a rainwater harvesting. The Lincoln Club has a water well project. Sacramento has a Honduras wash project. There's like a combination South Placer Fair Oaks on a grant scholar. Roseville has a Honduras clean water project. Typo there, but Point West has hygiene and sanitary conditions in Uganda. Some other ones that are in draft mode in global grants, we've got some stuff happening in South Africa. Folsom Club has something in Peru. Point West has Camp Hope in Mexico. East Sacramento, South Africa, they got a big grant going there. Looks like Yuba City and Roseville have a combo for women empowerment, and Sacramento Club, something in the Dominican Republic. So some of the great stuff that our district does with global grants that's happening right now, and or going to happen too. All right, let's shift over to district grants. DDF, district designated funds, are available for smaller local projects. Clubs may apply these funds providing their club is certified, having completed the grant management training back in February, passed the test in March, and submitted an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, to the district back in April. Those clubs receive certification and are eligible for district grant funds. Certified clubs may request up to $5,000, which can be for one project or divided among several. They can partner with other clubs that are certified as well. The application is submitted online through our district website, rotary5180.org. The application was due April 30th of 2020. Because of COVID-19, all applications submitted by April 30th did not exceed our allocation of available grant funds. Therefore, we extended the deadline for certified clubs to June 30th, 2020, to apply for further grant requests not to exceed the $5,000 per club limit. Our district grants chair is Karen Romines, and she can be reached at rotarykaren5180@gmail for any questions and the status of your grant. Wanted to share that with you as soon as possible. Some of the great district grants that are going to be launched here this next 2020-21, Shoe Bank, COVID-19 police support, food bank, smoke alarms, lead paint abatement, back to school backpacks, library Lucky, senior center landscaping, holiday meal program, Shop with Heroes, human trafficking, ebook library, urban farm, remote learning, school improvements, RILA, community store, device socks, some great stuff. Beginning of last year, 2020, there were name changes to the 6 areas of focus. On the left column are the names of the original areas of focus, and they recently changed those to 3 of them, as you can see highlighted here in the blue. Hello. The Rotary District Response Foundation. For some of you that may not be aware, Rotary International has a disaster response fund. Since COVID-19, the Rotary Disaster Response Fund has become a main topic of discussion. The Rotary Foundation supports disaster relief and recovery efforts through grants from the Disaster Response Fund. In the fine print down there at the bottom, your gift helps Rotary clubs provide disaster recovery and support rebuilding efforts, including projects related to COVID-19. Contributions are combined into one fund and made available through Rotary Disaster Response grants. They cannot be directed to a specific disaster. Fortunately, just last month, our district was a beneficiary of a disaster response grant in the amount of $25,000. Very few districts have received this grant when the initial $1 million ran out. Rotary International replenished with an additional $3 million, and it also has been exhausted, but fortunately more is expected. Some other good news. Last month, some of you may have watched the Rotary International's first ever telethon. It was well planned, and I enjoyed seeing all the different parts of the world and how they were handling COVID-19. For those who weren't aware, the results were the telethon raised over $529,000 and was able to fund 21 grants towards COVID-19, and it reached over 35,000 viewers. All right. I'm going to switch this over to Joe, and a little background history for Joe. Joe grew up in Northern California. He spent 25 years in the Air Force, starting as a forward air controller in Vietnam, then in special operations in Laos with the CIA. He has over 4,000 hours of flying time with over 1,000 hours in combat. He has 2 distinguished flying crosses, 12 air medals, and various other medals, including the Legion of Merit. He retired from the military in 1993 as colonel. He retired a second time in 2013 after 20 years as an investment advisor. He and his wife, Marie, have been married for 46 years. They have 2 daughters and 2 granddaughters. Joe has been retiring for 24 years and is a member of the Rotary Club of Fair Oaks. He was a team leader for a group study exchange team to Colombia in 2010. He participated in 3 wheelchair distributions to Costa Rica and Peru in 2011 and 12. He was a club president in 12-13 Rotary year when his club won Outstanding Medium Club of the Year. He has been an assistant governor for 3 years. He is also the District Global Grants Scholarship Chair and the Rotary Peace Fellowship Chair. He enjoys fishing, Corvettes, and reading history and biographies. Joe, go ahead and take it over.
Thanks, Glenn. It's a pleasure to be involved in this webinar today, and I want to talk about some opportunities. Do you know anyone that wants a full ride scholarship to study abroad for a master's or a doctorate degree? Full ride. We need to get word out about this. Rotary has 2 opportunities to do such, one through Global Grant Scholarships and one through Rotary Peace Fellowships. Let's talk about the Global Grant ones. It's up to 2 years of funding towards an advanced degree in one of those areas of focus. And these used to be called ambassadorial scholarships, and some view these as more valuable than Rhodes scholarships. There's some qualifications. The degree would have to be in one of Rotary's 6 areas of focus, and Rotary would have to see some sort of payoff in that area after funding the scholarship. In other words, a plan to employ that degree in that area of focus. And unfortunately, neither of these are open to Rotarians or relatives of Rotarians. And for the Global Grant Scholarships, there must be some sort of a tie to District 5180. I've had multiple requests from other areas asking to be involved in our Global Grant Scholarships, but if they don't have that tie to District 5180, I've been unable to help them, and evidently we are one of the few in the world that are offering these scholarships. So, and they have to have applied or been accepted by a university for that study. So we've got 3 endowments that fund these global grant scholarships. John Cole's endowment, he was a Rotarian in now I've forgotten the name, over at McClellan. What's the Rotary Club at McClellan? Meets over there. Anyway, Foothill Highlands, that's right. And his is the only endowment that we've actually used so far for our 6 scholarships, global grant scholarships that we have offered. Over 330,000 has been funded for them. Recently, from the Folsom Club, the Marsala family has done an endowment. You can see of over $1 million, and we're going to be using that for outbound scholars also. The district has developed its own endowment for inbound scholars, and these would be used at either Sac State, Jessup, or over at UC Davis. We've had like 3 applicants, but none of them met the minimum requirements so far. So far we have not funded any inbound scholars. Like I say, we've done 6 outbound. The deadline for those, I want you to, everybody that's involved in this webinar, I want you to get the word out that those applications to the Rotary Club, soon followed to the district, are starting in the end of October of this year. So get the feelings out, let's get to talking to people, and let's see if we can't get more applicants. So I should say that we have 1 scholar that's already, the most recent one is pursuing a degree at the Royal Veterinary College in London. And she was sent back home because of COVID, and she's finishing up here in Sacramento the last couple of months, graduates at the end of August. And she is getting a degree in animal biology with an emphasis on zoonosis, certainly timely, the transmission of animal diseases to humans. She's spoken at our club, the Fair Oaks Rotary Club, and she's spoken to the East Sacramento Club and given an excellent presentation about that. So keep that in mind. Her scholarship was for $53,000. We have in the past given one for as much as $64,000. So that's why I say a lot of people think they're better than the Rhodes scholarships. Turning now to the Rotary Peace Fellowships, those are 50 positions that Rotary gives each year, master's full ride scholarships up to $75,000, add up to 6 different locations abroad. You can see them listed there, and there are 5 of them. One's in the States. If you're in the States, you have to go outbound, so those are the 5 you would go to. We had 3 applicants last year, one of which was not qualified because of lack of work experience. We nominated 2 up to Rotary, and 1 was successful. Among 800 applicants with an average of 7 years work experience, she was selected, Lindsay Apperson. She was to go to Japan, the first one listed there, for 22 months of cultural language and then the master's program. Unfortunately, her father came down with a serious illness and she's had to back out of that. We're hoping she'll be able to reapply next year. So there are some qualifications, not as strict as the Global Grant Scholarships. They can apply from anywhere to our district, and you can see the rest of the qualifications. The main one being that 3 years of related full-time work experience. And of course, the average of last year's was 7 years. So we have 1 applicant for this year. We've already been through the sponsorship with the Fair Oaks Rotary Club. And next week, our district leadership, and Glenn and myself, will be interviewing Micah Metz Houston for endorsement up to RI. And RI is the one that does the selections, and they do all of the funding for this. And so we will be proceeding with that next week. Deadlines for this are May 31st, applications to the Rotary districts. And the deadline we're facing now is July 1st, when we have to endorse up to the Rotary Foundation. And the selections will be done later in October. And so there's 50 of these scholarships available. There's also 80 certificate 3-month programs in Thailand available. And Rotary funds these 130 each year. So I might mention that some of this is funded by endowments, one of which is from the Bill and Jane Weiss of Orangevale Rotary Club. They have an endowment of $30,000 that they have given to the Rotary Peace Center support. So great efforts, and think about that. If you want to leave a legacy, you can contribute like this, or to share, or leave a legacy to scholarships. So thanks for this opportunity to talk, and please get the word out there. We have a responsibility to use this money to fund these scholarships. Rotarians have given it to us for that responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. That's great stuff. We definitely need to let everyone know in our clubs that we have money to give away for scholarships. So thank you so much. Joe does a fabulous job of keeping everybody informed and up to date on the status of our Global Grant scholarships out there. Thanks again. Next, we have End Polio Now, and our special guest is Court Vaughn. He is a polio survivor. He and his wife Tanya sold their home in Bend, Oregon in 2017 and currently exploring North America by RV. They have 2 sons and 2 grandsons. Court joined the Rotary Club of Greater Bend to help eradicate polio. He founded the Pints for Polio fundraiser in 2012 to raise money for global polio eradication and to increase local awareness regarding the need to vaccinate all children. Pints for Polio has raised nearly $210,000 for the Polio Plus Fund, including matching funds from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Court is past District 5110 Polio Plus Chair and current Zone 27 End Polio Now Coordinator, covering 10 districts and nearly 800 Rotary clubs. Zone 27 includes most of Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Nevada, Northern California, and British Columbia. Court contracted polio in 1954 during an epidemic that crippled over 35,000 people in the United States, mostly children under the age of 5. Polio paralyzed Court's right leg. Court and Tanya spent 3 weeks in India in January to vaccinate children against polio. They also met with WHO and UNICEF, visited a polio rehabilitation clinic, and toured several Rotary projects. Join us in hearing Court's inspiring story of growing up with polio and learning about polio eradication in India. Welcome, Court.
Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate the introduction. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. As Glenn mentioned, my right leg was paralyzed by polio in 1954 when I was 2 years old. There was a global polio pandemic at the time, and 35,000 people, mostly children in the United States, were paralyzed just in that year, 50,000 in 1950. So it's a horrible disease, and it's still present today. At the time, my parents told me that they were living in fear that I would get polio. They knew that polio was caused by a virus and that scientists were working on a vaccination, but nobody knew exactly how it was spread. So there was fear everywhere. Our little town was practically shut down. The swimming pool, movie theaters, bowling alleys, all closed. So amid that fear, one morning, my parents noticed that I could no longer stand up and I had a fever. So they rushed me to the hospital and waited. When the doctor came out, their worst fears were realized. I had polio. and my right leg was paralyzed. The doctor didn't know if I'd be lucky and recover or get worse or possibly even die. Well, fortunately, I survived, and I have joined Rotary to help wipe out polio. So let me tell you a little bit about what's going on right now with polio eradication at a time of COVID-19. First of all, the house-to-house vaccinations and the mass immunizations have all had to be paused to protect both the polio workers and the people that they might come in contact with. However, we are still continuing to do surveillance whenever a child is discovered that has a paralysis. We polio workers go in and check that out. They do contact tracing. We're still operating our laboratories so that samples can be sent in. And we also are now using those same skilled people in the same facilities to help with the COVID-19 response. So for COVID-19, we're doing all those same services, and we have communications efforts too that we're doing. We're putting out bulletin boards to encourage people to wash their hands, to stay home. And we're even running a phone line where people can call in and ask their questions about COVID-19, and it's polio funded workers who are manning those, so that we're continuing to use the dollars that you donate to Polio Plus to make a difference in the world. And soon we hope to be able to resume the mass immunization campaigns. So what has this done so far, and where are we at? Well, as you can see from the graph, polio cases have reduced dramatically, and for the last 5 years, we've had less than 200 cases every year. And Nigeria has been polio-free for 4 years, and later this year, we expect to get certification that Nigeria and the entire continent of Africa are polio-free. That means we'll be down to just 2 endemic countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan. So far this year, there have been 61 cases of polio in those 2 countries. So despite the fact that mass immunizations have been paused, the numbers are still relatively low. So we have hopes that when we're able to begin the vaccinations, mass vaccinations, we will be able to continue our work to wipe out polio forever. And right now, Polio Plus funds are actually being used to buy and stockpile polio vaccines in planning ahead for that day when we get out there and do things again. There's also a new vaccine that's going to come out in September, so that will help. It's safer than the current one. And next year, India will be able to celebrate 10 years of being polio free. So my wife and I traveled to India in January before the COVID-19 curtailed all travel, and we were able to help out with what are called National Immunization Days, or usually just NIDs. And the first day of that is a booth day. We started out at a women's clinic where babies were being vaccinated, and one of those babies was just 4 hours old. So they don't waste any time making sure those children are safe from polio and other diseases. We also visited a slum, and despite the extreme poverty, the children there all got vaccinated and were showing us their purple pinkies. I just found it really emotional to be able to have the opportunity to give those 2 precious drops to a child that could possibly save their life and protect them from getting polio. The gold standard of these mass polio vaccination campaigns is the door-to-door visits. In India, their goal was to vaccinate 170 million children in a 5-day period, starting with the clinics and then moving on to going to every single house in India. And they were successful. They did vaccinate actually 176 million children. So that takes a lot of staff, volunteers and paid staff, and equipment like ice chests to take those vaccines around to vaccinate all those children. So our money and our efforts are going towards a really noble cause. In addition, the donations to Rotary also help fund a post-polio clinic where we saw patients who literally crawl into the clinic, have surgeries, physical therapy, and walk back out. Just absolutely amazing. So let's look at what's going on with District 5180 and your support of Polio Plus. So you have donated, as of the end of May, 106,298 in cash. When matched 2-to-1 by the Gates Foundation, that's a 318,894. That's a really good number. It is down significantly from last year, probably due to our COVID-19 shutdown. District 5180 is also one of just a few districts in Zone 27 who have donated over 20% of your DDF to Polio Plus. That's the RI recommendation. You've met it, and it's really appreciated because that DDF is matched first by the World Fund 1-to-1 and then by the Gates Foundation 2-to-1. So that's a 6-to-1 increase. So that's just an incredible investment that in your case has blossomed to 186,000 all to go to Polio Plus. And 89% of your clubs do give to Polio Plus. That's impressive that you have 89%. It does tell me that there's still work to be done. You've got 11% of your clubs that not a single member gave anything to Polio Plus. So that there's some improvement that can be had there. To help out, there's a program that we're using right now because Polio Plus has made a pledge to raise 50 million this Rotary year, and right now we're at 41 million. The Gates Foundation will match 2-to-1 every dollar up to 50 million. So right now, Polio Plus is leaving 9 million of Rotary's money on the table and 18 million of Gates match. That's a lot of money that we're not getting to help wipe out polio. So we're asking in these last few days of June in Rotary's fiscal year, since you're not meeting in person now, why not donate your lunch money to polio? And you can do that at endpolio.org. So please take out polio. Thank you.
Thank you, Court. Good stuff. Let's go ahead and move along to any questions. Oh, actually, dates and so forth. We'll have a foundation seminar most likely sometime in August or September. That's to be announced. Don't forget what Court just mentioned. Our World Polio Day, one of our best months. We do a district match, usually with the contributions from our clubs. So World Polio Day is October 24th. As Joe mentioned earlier, the Global Grant Scholarship application deadline is October 31st. And we are having our foundation dinner November 7th at the Doubletree Hotel. If you'd like to be on a monthly foundation email, just let me know. Actually, if you're from a club that has a club foundation chair and they do get my monthly email notification. But if you wanted to be added on it as well, just let me know. And our district foundation committee is available to speak anytime at your club or some training, maybe a foundation minute. We're always available. I've got a great group and we're adding more. So this is our district foundation team for 2020-21. All right, let's just see if there's any questions for us today. I'm going to go through here. How do we reach Court? Court, how do we reach you? We want to let them know what's the best way to reach you.
Yes, there's two different ways. You can email me. It's jcourtvaughn@gmail.com. And Vaughn is spelled Vaughan. You can also call me. My number is 541-408-7651.
If you need to get a hold of Court, you can always get a hold of me, and I will get you Court's information to you as soon as possible. All right, any questions? No other questions? So I'll just leave you with one last slide, and that is 100 years of Rotary dedication made the Rotary Foundation's success possible. The next century of serving humanity will depend on what you do today. Thank you, everyone who have joined us today. We will have this on the district website here, the recording, and enjoy the rest of your Saturday and weekend. And thank you to our special guests, Joe and Court, for being online as well. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you, everyone. Good day.
Great job, Glenn.
Let me shut this down here.